Yes, I'm back. Hey, I did a couple other things and I've gotten the rickrack on the piece. I'm trying to do this so you won't see the front, but I got the rickrack on. I don't know if you can see how I have basted it on there, and I tried to, I'm being nudged by Ms. Zola. She thinks I'm talking to her. But as you can see, when I got to the corners, I would sort of mush it up, well, not mush it up, just bunch it up and try to make it go around the corners. I started this corner, and how I did it was I knotted my thread, went through, put the piece together, and took the needle, and I'm catching part of the velvet, catching part of it to go backwards. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to turn this around and show you how I'm catching the linen, but I'm catching, let's see if I can do this. I'm going through the tip bit of the velvet, and I'm going to catch a tip bit of the linen on the other side. I'm going straight through the rickrack and try to straighten it if there's anything that's going on while I'm taking the needle through. And I'm trying to pull it tight. You don't want to pull it too tight because you'll pop your thread and you'll also distort your linen. But I'm going to take a stitch. I'll show this again on another one that you can actually see the front. But since, again, I'm repeating myself, if it goes to the magazine, you can't get it. So you can't see the front. But see, I have just barely caught, give me my hand. Hi, Laura. I barely caught the velvet. Let me see if I can't show you guys right there. And I'm just doing what they call a ladder stitch, because what I'm doing is going straight across. And then I take my thread and I'm going up, not even a 16th of an inch. Hey, sweetie. And then I am coming straight back across. So, and again, this is one of my finishing needles, which I think is like a 7. It's thinner and it's bendable. And I'll show you once I push this through how I bend my needle to make my curved needle. And the reason I'm having a problem is when I'm catching that double-sided tape that I showed you guys I used in part 1, and it's catching. So a good thing to have around when you're doing this finishing is to have an emery that has either the walnut holes or real emery in it, the sapphire emery, to clean your needle, because it's going to collect the double-sided tape on the needle and dull it down. And you just keep going back and forth and pulling it till we get all the way around. And you want to make sure the corners are plumbing up like that. And what I'll do is hi Bonnie. What I'll do is I will stitch from this side to this side, and then I'll stop, and I will then flip it and start from the bottom and go over. And as if let me open this up so you'll see. I ended this, and you're going to see it a little bit where it's ended in the front. So what I'm going to do is once I get this stitched together, I'm going to go back with some black thread and try to make this go back together. I did the best I could. It's just going to show. One, it's because I'm using a larger rickrack, and also where using the velvet's making it sort of, trying to wave at Bonnie. It's making that corner rather thick, but it was not going to do well starting in the middle, especially since I used 1 inch. I could have used a 1/2 inch. I didn't want to just look at my mouth. I could have used a 1/2 inch on this, but I wanted it to show more. So the half, I used this, they're calling it an inch. I think it's a little less than that, but the industry, does, like I said before, doesn't have standards. This is an inch, and I did that just so it would have you could see it better. Hi, Brian. Trying to say hi. I hate these waving things. My fingers just don't. Okay. Bonnie, I'm sorry, I was reading and doing this. I gotta turn this over. Bonnie's asking, what is the name of the material I'm using, and do I have this in my shop? Are you talking about the material the backing material or the fabric that I'm using? This is Peddler's Espresso blend, or Peddler's Espresso and it's in velvet. And I should have some in my Etsy. If I don't, I can dye some up. Just send me a PM if you don't see it. It's one that I keep in. I have Peddler's Blend, Peddler's Espresso, and Peddler's Patina. The Patina's got, it's hit or miss. It has some teal that shows in it, so that's the Patina, and it's a little darker. Peddler's Blend, slightly lighter. This is a Peddler's Espresso because it comes out dirty, but again, it's one of those, I can't totally control how the dye process goes. I can't, each piece will be different. Sometimes it comes a little darker, lighter. There's some, on my personal feed is an article, and I'll try to tag it again, where it showed people dyeing from water sources from different wells or from different areas, and how you can use the same dye, the same recipe, and you'll get all kinds of different results. Okay, great, Bonnie. Just go on there and look. It's Peddler's Espresso because this is darker. And like I said, if I don't have any on there, I can dye some up. That's no big deal. Just send me a PM and we'll do that. You can tell me if you want it grungier or not. And the other thing is I think I have it on muslin and I have it in some counts of linen. But I'm getting linen in on Tuesday, and I can dye some up too for that if you want linen. But this, I love this. This is just, each piece is like an piece of art. It's just wonderful. But let me show you how I started this, and I'll have to do it from the back. And I'm going to have to start in this corner that is a little, it's the two pieces meet. But I like going from, see, I started on this corner and went over, so I like to flip it and start on the back corner that's opposite. So this helps keep your items plumb. I like doing this with all my round pieces. Anything I do, I don't like to go all the way around because things will move, and you can catch if you've got something that needs to be moved like you would do on a sewing machine with a dog foot. If you need to move it over, you can catch it better if you do part of it one way and part the other. But what I did, let me move you guys so if you say anything, I won't see it for a minute, is I came up with, and this is another curved needle that I made myself, but you come up, let's see if I can get this. The linen's harder to get than the velvet because it's closer to that double-sided tape, and that catches in your needle like I said before. Oh, would help if I had a knot in it. See, I like doing all these things so you can learn from my mistakes. I actually planned that. Do you believe that? No, mistakes are wonderful. You really learn from them. I mean, I know in the middle of it, you're really saying WTF and you do all that stuff, but some of my best things have happened from mistakes. But you go up in the corner and you catch the linen. Oh, I unthreaded the needle too. Let's see if I can thread the needle in front of you guys. Oh my gosh, yes I can. So you push the two pieces together, and I can't totally turn it because you can't see the front again. Sorry, I keep repeating that, but I'm not trying to hide anything from you. Well, I'm hiding the front, but I'm just trying to get a flat finish tutorial for you, and this is what I had. So I'm going to bring it through the rickrack, and I'm going to come up on the corner edge of the velvet and pull it tight. Well, I'm going to catch some more if I can. And I mitered, as you saw, I mitered the corners and the linen. Sometimes I will lace that linen too, depending on the size of the piece. But usually the double-sided tape holds everything in place and you don't have to lace it to keep it there. Mostly I lace when I have a round piece, and especially if I'm using a flimsy fabric that, like a Mori's really not flimsy, but if I'm using something besides a velvet or a tighter woven fabric, and I'm using my hands to pull this together because I don't want to put all the pressure on the thread. Let's see if I can bend this down. So, look, I can do that without making you totally motion sickness. And I'm bringing it back through. I didn't catch the velvet, with this one. I'm just going to catch it second. Lots of times I'll try to do it in one fell swoop so you know you're staying in place. And see how I pulled it and it's tightening up? I'm just going to take another stitch similar in the same area and pull it back. And I'm also catching one reason, we're going further and further down. One reason I use the 2-ply cotton mat board and that plastic too, but the 2-ply is really great, is sometimes my needle will catch the mat board and go through it. That's perfectly fine. And that actually helps it stay in place. But it's just a little harder to push it through. And again, you see, because I'm going through a lot of stuff here. I'm going through the linen. I'm going through 2 layers of the rickrack right here. And remember, if you watched the first one, we did roll the edge of the rickrack. I didn't roll it when I ended it. I usually do, but this 1 inch tended to be a little thick. Let me see if I can get you up so you're not looking at my mouth the whole time, and I'll move it over. That's pretty much it. You're just going to go ladder stitch back and forth. You're going to make sure that everything stays plumb, and you're going to stitch it from one corner to the other, and then I'll turn it and stitch the vertical sides, which when you turn it, they'll be horizontal. I usually hold it a little bit like this, and I always stitch counterclockwise. I think I told you guys this when I put on the twisted cording, or I put on any type of, let me turn it over, any type of trim, I do counterclockwise. Once in a while I will go clockwise, but I don't know why. The lady that taught me the finishing that I was taking over when I started finishing in the late 80s for a needle workshop, she taught me that way, and it just stuck in my head. And it's one of those things that if you start a habit of doing that, you know where you are when you stop and start, and it's just a habit you get into, and it helps things stay in place. One thing I'll show you, let me see if I can do this where you're not seeing the front of this piece. Let me bring this down. Oops, you almost saw it. See, there's the basting line still in there. It's pink. I think you can see it on the linen. I'm leaving that in place, so it's helping me stitch this together and keep everything plumb. But what I'm going to do is once I finish, I'm going to come back and clip it and pull it out because it's on the edge. It didn't roll over to the back. But it's helping everything. That's what I used as my baseline to make sure that my linen went on my 2-ply cotton mat board correctly. And it's straight across. And that's why I like using the double-sided tape, because it helps lay it down and you can move it back and forth. And again, I put it on like I showed you in the first one when I did the velvet on there. I also used three layers of the batting on the front, only 2 layers of batting in the back. But I made sure that the basting lines lined up with the edge of the mat board, and I also mitered the corners too. So I did everything that I did with the velvet, except I didn't have a basting line on the velvet. You don't need a basting line at all. And it's up to you whether you really want to put a layer of iron-on interfacing on your backing. That's not always necessary. I did on this just so I could keep track of where everything was and also give you a visual because I couldn't really show you the linen piece. So I showed you that, and lining everything up with that, with either the bit, if you only use the iron-on interfacing, you line everything up with that so things are plumb. And then you use your basting threads on your linen, if I'm making sense. And then we just sew it back and forth. And then this will be finished. I've got a couple other things to do. I will either later today show you how to make those wire hangers that I make, or I will show you later tomorrow because I need to get that on here, and I'll have to show you what it looks like on another piece, but I'll show you how to make one because I can't show you the front of this. Again, I'm telling you that. And I'm not sure, I don't think I'm going to decorate this one since it's primitive, but I'll put on ribbons and other things like that. I'm trying to play with putting beading on it, but I haven't bought any beads that are that large. The wire I use is jewelry wire, so it won't rust or anything. When I first started doing it, I was just using some floral wire, but I realized that would eventually, especially living here in the moisture, either rust or it would get a black covering on it from being in the humidity. So I use jewelry wire. I forget what gauge it is. I'll look it up and tell you, but you can buy it on the spool. You can buy it just in a ring of it. But I think it's really great because if you're not using twisted cording, it's a really cute thing to put on there because I've used chenille and other things and put other hangers on there. And you have to hide the end and you have to add it in. And this you can add on later because I put a curly at the bottom and then I make a straight. It's not really totally straight because mine are primitive. And then I curl it. But you'll see, I've shown them on the ones I've finished for clients. So that's about it. Oh, and I also had written last night, and I will show you the progress I've made on the collaboration I have with Romina from Romy's Creations. She and I are doing a series that's called Seasons in a Jar. And I'm finishing spring, and I've got the snowman to do, which will be winter. And that is going to be released in Nashville. And then we've got 3 more that we'll do. And I had originally started that with gray, and I really liked how it looked with the gray, with the outlining the jar. But it was hard to take a picture of it. So I've switched to black tulip, I think. So it's giving you a galvanized look. So you guys will get to see that. And then I was way productive but I didn't get to dyeing yesterday. I'm starting a new little series of hearts, and it's on my red Sweeney, and they're real small. They're about 4 inches. They're about 4 by 4. And it's, of course, I like to do silhouette. So I'm doing it with white on. I'm petting Zola is what I'm doing. She's sitting here wanting attention. Hey, I'll show you Zola. Let's see. Hi, Romina. Wait a minute. No, I don't want to show you guys. Whoops. Let's see. It went blank. Let's see. Here's Miss Zola. She's wanting attention. Can you say hi to the people? I think it's really weird. She does not make eye contact with cameras. When you start to take her pictures, she'll turn away. I think it's weird. I don't know if all dogs do that or not. Hi, sweetie. Love you. Later, I'm going to be showing the progress I'm doing on spring. I'm almost finished. Romina said hello to you. She did. She's wagging her tail and looking at me. Anyway, that's it. I did get the other video uploaded, part 1 of the finishing. That went quite long because I crammed a bunch of stuff in there and answered some questions. So this one's going to be really short because I'm ending it now. I'll be back to show you how to do the hook, and I will show you the progress. And hopefully if I get motivated or just sit down and just do it and don't get anxious, because I think I've talked about this before. Even though I have to do this, then there's other things I need to do. When I sit and stitch and I finish, that is like, I love doing that. Finishing not as much, but it's relaxing and I like it. And I feel like it's part of my hobby, not my business. So I start feeling like I need to go do something that I see I'm end result. Not that I don't see an end result when I'm stitching, but it makes me anxious. So sometimes I have to stop because it's like I don't feel like I'm getting anything done when I really am. Anyway, thank you for spending part of your Sunday with me again. I will be back. I don't know when, so we'll just leave it at that. But it'll probably be today with some other things. And I hope to not die, but dyeing. And we'll see how that works because I have a cool color I'm hoping is going to work. So, bye guys, and you take care.